Every once in a while, I find a game that drags me right back to the games that shaped me. Almost 30 years ago, I was sitting in a friend's basement, watching his older brother and his buddies break in a new system, Sega Saturn. On the screen, two massive armies were colliding. Row after row of sprites clashing together, banners waving, chaos everywhere. I didn't know what I was looking at the time, but it was Dragon Force, one of the first true autobattlers where hundreds of troops clashed in real time. And a few years later, Ogre Battle 64 arrived on the Nintendo 64, and that game is one of my favorite games of all time. It introduced me to strategy RPGs, multiple endings, tactical formations, class systems that felt like every knight had a destiny. It wasn't just a battle game, it was a story engine. Since then, I've been hunting for games with that same feeling, where world-scale conflict and RPG progression blend seamlessly. The kind of game that sneaks hours into your weekend without warning. Then I saw the trailer for Crown and Adventure, and suddenly, those two paths, autobattler and strategy RPG, felt like they collided. The tutorial started kinda basic. The fights taught me the mechanics, but didn't make me sit up. Then the systems began to unfold, tech trees, the ability to field multiple unit types, seeing my units stack into powerful formations. That's when the gears started turning. The final tutorial fight had me thinking, okay, this foundation has legs. Show me the world. So I was a little nervous I wasn't nervous, but I was a little nervous to click on the go to the outside world part because I wasn't sure what kind of game it was. If it was going to be like take me to the next section, similar to the early games like Ogre Battles or Tactics Ogre. When I got out there, stepping into the overworld, my first thought was Heroes of Might and Magic. That vibe of kingdoms on a map. When I clicked, it was actually free movement, not turn-based. And I realized this wasn't Heroes of Might and Magic. And then I saw enemies roaming around, little numbers beside them, and in my head I thought, oh no, this is Mount and Blade. Before kids, before reviews, that would have lit me up. Now it just triggers some existential dread. This might actually be dangerous for my free time. Digging into the systems a little bit, I got a glimpse of its real depth. Tech trees and hero auras that felt like the backbone of any army. There was a practice duel against a clone of your army. It's great for testing comps. Then the edges started to poke out. There's a trading bar, but while you're sliding it, there's no price update, so you don't actually know how much you're going to spend until it tells you the total on the bottom, and there's a lot of back and forth if you don't want to pull out a calculator. That's a pretty easy fix, they just need to put a total on that slide. And when you click on a town, there's an enter town button, and then cozying right up to it, there is a siege button. And I was half expecting to fat finger something and end up with my 13-man rookie army charging at a fortress wall while I laugh. Units sometimes run through each other before snapping back. I'm not sure if it's a glitch or unintentional tactic. I did lose a couple of fights because my front line would run past their front line, and I use a couple of heavy frontliners, not a lot of them. So when they ran through, they ran straight to my back line, which is my big damage dealers, and wiped them out. So it's kind of messed up sometimes. Despite that roughness, the story beats feel a lot tighter than like Mount and Blade, and there's polish glinting behind the cracks. There are on-world events that you can kind of see coming as you're walking up to them. It's really neat. I think they handled the story part of this, and you're going to get more story in this one. They handled the story part really well. There's some localization issues, but I didn't even notice them really. Like, you just play through them. I'm hoping they iron them out before it gets a full release over here, but I really enjoyed it. And then another good surprise, and not just the occasional wizard. There aren't just magical units, but you can have an army of magical units. And it's not just paint on the Mount and Blade formula. It remixes and sets the game apart. Some newer games like Mechabellium, Naraka Blade Point, Natural Selection 2, those games are more recent examples of games that aren't Game of the Year games, but in my personal library, have the most time. If Crown and Adventure can truly merge my auto-battler scale of Dragon Force and the RPG elements of Ogre Battles and the world scope of Mount and Blade, this could easily take one of the seats next to them as far as personal time put into it. Now, for this base demo, and it is a demo, there's a strong 7 out of 10 game here with a lot of promise. I mean, it might only ever reach 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 for like the average person. But for me, this is like a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 game. If they pull it off. They have to bring it together. Again, this is only a demo. There's a lot of room for them to grow and get the localization figured out. But if they pull it all together right, oh man, I'm looking forward to it. But right now, it's a strong 7 out of 10. All right, Knights, raise the banner if Dragon Force or Ogre Battle 64 ever stole your weekends by hitting that like button. Subscribe to my growing order of lordly caliber knights and drop a purple and green heart and the name of the game that ate over 300 of your hours, Bannerlord, Heroes of Might and Magic, Ogre Battles, or something else. Thank you, and as always, it's what we do.